What if I told you that what you see on your phone or TV screen isn't always what you get? Well, that's the case with the rise of generative AI. But when it comes to design and the digital arts, that's been the case a lot longer. Things like special effects and CGI have made us accustomed to knowing that the things that we see aren't always real. So does AI change that in any way? What should the limits be of AI in the digital arts, if any? Eric Westray, a designer and artist himself, joins us to talk about those questions and so much more. That's all coming up right here, right now. I'm Sam Chan, and this is Face the Issues. Good evening and welcome to Face the Issues. I'm Sam Chen. What you see isn't always what you get on a screen, but all of us have known this. Things like special effects, CGI. When we watch movies, we know in Jurassic Park that there aren't really dinosaurs coming after people, at least not yet. But does this change with the introduction of generative AI, especially as AI becomes more popular? We're in a mini-series on generative AI, understanding it, its uses, its limits, the ethics surrounding it. And today we're breaking down the question of the use of AI in the arts and in design. And we're joined by Eric Westray. He's creative director at Cheyney University of Pennsylvania and the artist himself. Eric, welcome to Face the Issues.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you so much for making the drive and joining us.
Yes.
Super excited to have you. You are the creative director, I think your official title is Director of Creative Services and Design at Cheyney University of Pennsylvania. Yes. And you also do a lot of art yourself.
I do. Since day one, from kindergarten on.
So let's jump in, and I just said, like, there's a lot of hoopla over AI, and if this series we're specifically talking about generative AI because there's AI. Spell check is a form of AI. I teach at the college, and I always tell my students, I don't let you use ChatGPT to write your paper, but please use spell check. A lot of you need it. So, but generative AI, right, where it creates for you. Yes. And in the space of arts and design, this has been something that isn't new. And in a lot of ways, I think in some fields, generative AI is very new. But we've seen CGI, we've seen special effects for quite some time. How is AI used in the arts, and is it different now than what we've maybe have traditionally seen in things like movies?
I don't think it's different now. As a matter of fact, like you said, it's been around for a while. I've been actively using AI, I would say, for about 3 years now. And like most people, when you think of AI, you think of, ChatGPT. But it's been around, like you mentioned, in science fiction movies and backgrounds. And it's here to stay. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But as an artist, I'm always using it for references when creating digital design. So I use it for graphic design, illustration. But the thing I've really noticed, too, it's even in music, not just the visual arts, but even in music. Composers are producing music. There's AI voices now where singers are singing and there's lyrics that are being created. And of course, as a visual artist, helping to produce those videos and all the things that go into that. It's just really important. So,
what do you think, when the public talks about AI, right, there are those people like you who really understand it. But then I think there are a lot of people in the public that just think ChatGPT, OpenAI, is about the end of their knowledge of it. What do you wish they understood about what AI is used for? Because I think a lot of people just think it's used for writing papers, right?
No, that's correct.
But there's so much more to that.
AI, and I tell everyone too, AI is simply a tool. It's a tool like in any other profession. You use it to produce or to create whatever it is that you need to. But for me, it's no different than a paintbrush or a pen. I use it again for reference, to create reference material. But it's just important to know that it's a tool. It will never replace human creativity. That's so important. So I think that's the key.
And let me ask you about that, and that's actually what my next question was. Are there limits to AI? And you had talked about it being a tool, like a paintbrush. So in your world, you're still the artist.
Absolutely.
So what has AI allowed you to do that you wouldn't be able to before? And then where are those limits to AI's capabilities?
It's allowed me to stretch my imagination.
Okay.
It's great when you're starting, you have an idea and you're working on a composition, and then you put it in AI, and that's when the magic happens. But it's still based on the prompts and being a critical thinker. What is it that you're actually hoping to accomplish? And then the sky's the limit. The only thing is with AI, and we've seen it over the years, you can look now and see, oh, that's artificial, and it's lacking something. A few years back, we couldn't tell. But now that window's getting, I guess, smaller, and we're quickly able to identify, oh, that's just, some special graphics or AI.
Do you think it's getting easier to tell?
I think it's getting easier to tell. However, it depends on what you're looking at. Some photos, or if it's, let's say, a human character, I think we can tell a little bit more. Animals are pretty good. It depends on what we're looking at.
Okay. And yet AI is getting better and better and better.
It's getting better and better and better.
But it's somehow still becoming easier for us to tell.
That's correct. And you know what happens to it? Every now and then we'll get some anomaly or something happens where there's more fingers or extra arms, really weird, creepy things that still happen. But to avoid that kind of thing, you want to make sure that your prompts are solid and that they're good. That's where the critical thinking comes into play.
So can you give us some examples of like how you've used it before and what it's done for your work? So from what you used to do and then now what you do with AI, like how do you use it?
Wow. I would say primarily to create characters.
Okay.
I'm a figure artist. I love just human anatomy, photography, and it allows me to do things at such a high speed. My productivity now is off the chart using AI. I like to use it for references. Now I'm moving more into the animation and video, something that I thought I was trying to avoid, but I can't avoid it. And for years, people have seen my work and said, you know what, you need to make film, you need to do videos. So I'm leaning more towards that now.
Can I ask why you were trying to avoid it?
Because as a fine artist, I want to see the results kind of immediately.
Okay.
And rendering animation is pretty time consuming.
Oh, okay.
And
even using AI. Well, I guess
now using AI, it's much faster.
Okay.
So that's why it's more appealing to me.
Okay.
But before making keyframes it was too much. I was the process of art for me, and then it just wasn't there. The creativity part.
Sure. The AI that's available that people use to do stuff like this. Again, I mean, we said that we've been seeing this stuff done for a long time, right? I mean, just take Disney, for example. Early on, right, you actually have these sketches of Mickey Mouse and the flip books where you could,
pages,
right? And certainly that's not what they've been doing. I mean, long before the AI revolution the last several years has happened, their animated flicks, right? And then even their live. Their CGI, kind of the more live, like The Lion King and so forth, all is done with, that's all some form of AI.
Absolutely.
How is that different than what people are able to access now? Or have we just simply taken what has traditionally been for people like Disney or Pixar and opened it up to the public?
Literally, Sam, it seems like every week there's a new update and things are happening so that just the general public has access to all these special effects and camera moves and things that you can do in video and video production and just AI in general. So again, the sky's the limit, and it seems like it's new, but it's not new, and it keeps expanding, and every week there's more to learn.
Yeah, I think especially in your space, it probably grows faster than some other spaces, and it's also probably it's the space that's been around the longest, and I think.
Absolutely. And there's some concerns, and there are things that, the community is working out in AI. And some challenges, but some really, really great things are happening in this field.
And I want to ask about those concerns in a bit, but before we go there, you mentioned earlier that it's here to stay. Every guest we've had in this series in every field has said, yeah, look, it's here to stay in some form or another. What do you think the future is for AI in design and the arts?
I would like to see, and this is what I'm hoping, that there's more of a collaborative space created for artists. In other words, right now, everyone's in their own silo. Everyone's doing their own thing, and then they collaborate after, or they share ideas before or after. But during that working space, I'd love to be able to say, hey, Sam, I'm working on this particular design. Take a look at this, share my screen, and then allow you to make changes live. Right now, I don't see that happening. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but to be able to share my work in real time and not after, like, post-production or that would be fantastic. So I think some doors, windows, or something is opening for that.
So you do see it moving that way?
I do, because ultimately, that's where it's going to go. Because I think artists are understanding it is the creative element that we need. Without that space, without those conversations, we're just pushing buttons and just creating things that don't, I say, have a soul. They're not alive. I can look at work and I can tell that's artificial. And now when I say, oh, that has a soul, it looks like, wow, that person's breathing. This is real stuff.
That's so interesting. Eric, we're going to go to the break. When we come back, let's talk about some of those challenges that AI may raise and how you and your colleagues deal with that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. You can view our in-house studio productions on demand, or watch what's on the station right now with our 24/7 live stream. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website for more information. Visit lighthousetv.org to stay connected. There you can find out what's currently on the air and coming up, how to watch in your area on cable, satellite, broadcast, or streaming devices. Watch past programs or our live stream. Follow us on social media and learn more about the station, our hosts, and our programming. Lighthouse TV, positively different. You're watching Lighthouse TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This station will feature uplifting faith and family programming. Programs focusing on defending your faith, defending your freedom, and living as a believer in today's culture. To find out more about this station and to watch original content, go to lighthousetv.org. Lighthouse TV, positively different television.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. Eric, thanks again for joining us. It's so good to have you here in studio. Awesome. Let's pick up where we left off talking about, you're talking about where AI is heading in the future. You have mentioned that there are internal conversations about concerns with AI, and what we found is in every sector AI is used, these conversations are happening, and legal limits, ethical limits. So let's start there. What are the concerns that have been raised in the digital art space?
As an artist, and I've had this conversation so many times with my colleagues around the world about art and AI, it's the copyright concern. Who does this really belong to? Is this my work? Am I appropriating things that I shouldn't? Like, where's this? Who owns this? So I understand those concerns. But again, it's a tool, and we have to be responsible. AI is a responsive tool. So I feel as artists, we have to be responsible. And I think it is important for legislators and lawmakers to just consider where this is really gonna go. Artists are talking about, okay, well, can't we get at least royalties off of what we do? But then how are you gonna measure that? When are you gonna know? So it's still it's a hot topic, but I don't know if anyone has the answers now.
Yeah, you bring up such a great point about it being responsive, and we thus have to be responsible. And I've said a lot in the higher education space of it's it's artificial intelligence, right? So
artificial.
it's going to, and it's adaptive in many ways. So it's going to adapt to the intelligence of either the user or the inputter. Right? So I always tell people, if you're an idiot or the person inputting is an idiot, the response is going to be idiotic.
Yes,
It's not,
yes.
right? It's not. So I think with Gemini, which is Google's AI service, if you ask, how do you make Rice Krispie treats sticky? One of the suggestions is adding Elmer's glue, which
Oh my goodness.
answers the question.
It answers
but
the
to your
question.
point, the prompt, if you're an idiot and you're putting in something so I like how you phrased that it is a responsive tool.
What goes in is going to come out. Absolutely.
Let me ask, you said legally there's lawmakers need to think about these ramifications. And one of the things, and that's really in my field, in the government sector, and one of the things that we have seen concern of that we'll talk in this series about on the government side is for years now, Congress has been looking at what happens if AI is used for things like child pornography.
Absolutely.
And this actually came up in the 80s, late 80s. There's a bill that the Supreme Court shot down because in the 80s, it was very obvious that AI was not real. And it just, they said there's no mistaking this.
Yes.
But now, to your point, it's getting more and more real. And the struggle has become that child pornography has been banned because it harms an underage child. But with AI, if nobody's actually involved with it, what happens to the law? So a lot of things like that, and that's one example, but we can use this to talk about things like obscenity, but also violence. Where in the artist community, where do you see those ethical lines being drawn?
I think whatever company, agency need to start with building the laws there within their company, setting a precedence of this is what we do, this is what we don't do. I think those policies and procedures are so important. There's things that we know are just not good. So to try to, avoid them as best as possible by creating these policies, at least internally, and building out that way.
Even before Congress acts.
Even before Congress acts, have something that all of the employees or other artists in the area know, this is what we do and this is what we don't do.
I think that's really wise. It speaks to what you just said about being responsible with the tool. Yeah. The other concern I hear a lot too is just who should be using AI. And the example I'll give you is, as a faculty member, right? I tell my students, you're not allowed to use ChatGPT to write your papers because you are learning.
Yes.
And to learn, if you're using AI or even back when I was growing up, it wasn't that. It was get your smart cousin to write your paper for you. But it doesn't help you actually grow. And one of the things you said was AI is just a tool for you. You're the artist.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if there's a difference between you as a professional using it to perfect something and someone learning art, learning the concepts of it, using it to get ahead. Are there lines here? Are there certain people that should not be using AI, or is there a certain point in your journey that you should introduce it? Or is the other argument is that no, this is a free market. We should just let everybody have it, and they eat their own consequences.
I think everyone needs to have access. I think AI is incredible. Again, we talk about it being a tool. We have to be responsible when designating assignments or giving them, especially in the art world, not just options, but when you are working on a project, who's going to work on that? Who's going to know the tool enough to be able to produce what it is that we're doing? People are afraid that a lot of those entry-level positions are going away because now we don't need that person to create the storyboard for us. It just goes straight to the senior artist. So I do think that because of the art and the, principles of graphic design and all the rules that go with art, if you don't understand that and you miss that art process, you're not going to use that tool effectively. Anybody can push the buttons to create AI, but if you don't understand the why and the what and how, then you're just producing something that has no what I mentioned before, a soul.
Yeah.
It's not alive.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. So let me ask this, Eric, because this is the challenge of AI, right? You hinted at this earlier. The challenge is forever going to be figuring out what's authentic, what's real, and what's
Absolutely.
fake. Right? And we all, in humanity, we all like the things that are real, and we don't like the things that are fake. And there's a level to which I think that causes us to rebel against AI, and a level to which we embrace it in certain areas. Where, like with Jurassic Park, for example, CGI, we know it's fake and we embrace it for entertainment value or for whatever it might be. Yes. But how you talked twice now about still not losing the human element, not losing the human soul.
Can't afford it. Yeah.
How do you keep that, and where's the risk of someone losing that? Like when or where does that happen?
It starts with those conversations, whether it's at the workplace or if you're a freelance artist, talking about the who and the what, the why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you have a client and they're looking or they're interested in something, it begins with good conversation, which leads to that creative dialogue that I think is essential. If you just hire someone to do work and you just expect them to just push buttons, create prompts, that's not enough. There has to be dialogue. There has to be creative planning and strategy, artistic planning and strategy. Those elements help the work to be more authentic, and you're going to get a whole different product than if you're just hitting keys to create something.
That's so interesting, and you can see the difference when
you can see the difference. For instance, right now, even when you put a prompt in and you just say, "Okay, I want a dog," just put in dog. It's going to give you this beautiful Cocker Spaniel, or I want something that looks like it's just left the pound or it's a stray dog. I want that realness. You put those in the prompts to develop that kind of thing.
Interesting.
If everybody, and I noticed at the beginning of this journey with AI, everybody was a supermodel in the characters. Everybody's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, how's your character look with no makeup?
Yeah.
And you having those conversations and making it more authentic and making it more real, it's just, I think, a better practice in the process. That means the
person doing it needs to be real and authentic.
Absolutely. Yeah. But that comes with training, that comes with schooling, it comes with being educated as an artist. And everyone wants to be an artist, and everybody, like I said, wants to push those buttons to create art, but art is still a process, and AI is still a tool.
That's a great way to put it. Last question about concerns and ethics. So you mentioned earlier about whether people are going to lose their jobs. I think this has been the big question. Even something as simple as self-checkout at the grocery store, right? It takes away from cashiers. There's an argument here that it says the people on the highest end are never going to lose their jobs, right? The owners of these companies, but also the ones that are designing the AI. In your case, the ones that are creating these creative prompts to create it, right? They're never going to lose their jobs. To some degree, those who are in, like we all talk about those in manual labor jobs, like plumbers will always be plumbers. AI is for them. It's become a tool potentially one day, but their electricians will always be electricians, and we will always have a need for them.
Good point.
But that middle group that are not the creators and also not the necessarily the ones that execute, they're the ones, service industry, for example, could be at a massive, massive risk. Where do you see potential career loss in the arts, in the digital space? Is that a concern that artists are having?
That is absolutely a concern. But I think, like in any industry, and I've had this conversation, it's not AI that's going to replace artists. It's artists that know how to use AI that are going to replace those artists.
Sure.
So as an educator, I know it's just important for artists to keep developing their skills. I think it's wonderful, and in my case, to be classically trained, to get all the education so you understand color theory and you understand the principles of design. Then when you add that to AI, the tool is so much lighter and faster, and productivity increases. So yeah, you have to grow and stay ahead of the curve.
Great advice for every field.
For every field, absolutely.
Eric, thank you so much for joining us, for enlightening us about the role of AI in your field.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Face the Issues is produced and recorded in the studios of Lighthouse TV. Positively different. Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. You can view our in-house studio productions on demand, or watch what's on the station right now with our 24/7 live stream. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website lighthousetv.org for more information. Lighthouse TV. Positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. Eric, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
This has been a real treat for us, and I know our viewers are going to think the same. At the end of our shows, we always want to get to know the guests more. Get to know Eric as Eric,
Okay.
and not just Eric the artist.
All right,
And one of
gotcha.
the super cool things is you actually have quite an extensive math background.
I do.
Which usually we think of math as one side of the brain and arts as the other side.
Yes.
So apparently you're just a super genius, right?
super
So
genius.
that's what we're going to get take from this.
Something like that. I don't know.
Talk to us about your math background. You were a math
Yeah.
teacher and professor.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Undergrad, math major, physics minor.
Wow.
So I'm actually, I guess, a rocket scientist. I don't know. And I thank my parents for that. I really do. I know earlier I said they really didn't embrace the arts like I had hoped.
Mm-hmm.
They encouraged more, my pursuit of math and science. And I remember them saying to, get a job. You're not going to be an artist. Like, that's not a job. And I'm like, what? No, there's so many careers in art and you don't understand.
Yeah.
And no, get a job, So it's like, all right. But I stayed the course and I stayed with the math. And that was probably one of the best things I could have done. And I listened to my parents. It helped. Math, there's so much math in art. I mean, we could be here for 4 more episodes. And it's the critical thinking, it's the problem solving that I think really informs my art.
Interesting. You were a math teacher?
I was a math teacher, 25 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. I enjoyed it too. I loved it. Yes.
The teaching part or the math part, or both?
Both.
Yeah.
I loved just watching my students come in and really learn. I think that was it. And dispelling the fear of mathematics and embracing the whole problem solving.
And that's the question here, right? It's why so many people have a fear of math, right? What do you say to people who say, I just can't do math, or "Ooh, I'm really afraid of math"? Like, what advice do you give to them?
I love that. I say, oh, yes, you can. Here, let me show you how. Let's look at, and then next thing I'm on a rant with, and then, even in the classroom as a teacher, when students say, I don't know how to do that. Yes, you do. No. Okay, I'm going to show you that you do. We put up a problem. And I know which things to add or to give them wins in the beginning.
Yeah.
So that they'll feel safer and comfortable, and it's okay to make a mistake. So it's all about that environment too.
That's so great. Math and the arts hand in hand. Who would have
Math
thought?
and the arts, absolutely. Math and music. Oh my goodness, I can go on and on. It's in the visual arts and especially the performing arts. So
Love it.
it's
Eric,
there.
thank you so much for your time, for your
Thank you, Sam.
expertise, and for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you.
My thanks to Eric Westray for joining us, for his insights into this incredibly important topic. My thanks to each of you for tuning in as well. We hope to see you again right back here next week. Until then, my name is Sam Chen. On behalf of all of us here at Face the Issues, thank you and good night.